All right, Khan. Right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all glory, honor, and praises to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh Shai, who were ignorantly called Jesus Christ. Right, that is to say, call Allah Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Right, want to give glory to the Lord for His mercies. Right, glory to the Lord for these mean seasons. Right, glory to the Lord for the trials, tribulations. Right, glory to the Lord, just for His commandments. The law. Right, Yahweh Shai. Right, and the mercy that come with being an Israelite, man. Right, strong shalom to all the mighty brothers and sisters that are in Israel, trying to renew themselves daily, trying to put off the old man, the old woman, become a new creature in the Lord, man. Right, strong shalom to all the captains, all the officers, all the soldiers. Right, shalom. Right to everybody that may be tuning in during this late hour, man. Right, so as y'all can see, right, the class is going into finances. It's not a super deep or super long class. It's just something that was put on my spirit, as we enter into these rough times, where the powers that be are trying to translate the current dollar over to digital currency, and these banks are starting to freeze, and people got money in there, So it's just moved. The Lord put it on my spirit, right? To kind of just speak on, how we should be wiser with our spending, what we're doing with our money. Shalom, brother Moses. Shalom, brother Abram. Right, shalom, everybody that's tuned in this thing, man. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it off, man. Right, we're gonna go ahead and kick it off. Right, the book of Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. Right, Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Right, Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Right, I'm gonna start at verse 11, and it reads this: Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that see the sun. So wisdom is good with an inheritance. The scriptures say, according to Proverbs, the 13th chapter, right, you should leave an inheritance to your children's children. Right, a lot of nowadays, we really don't have inheritances. Right, the only inheritance that we truly have is Jerusalem and the inhabitant lands around that area. Right, that's truly our inheritance. But biblically, right, our forefathers, they had land, they had cattle, right, even the covenants of the Most High. Those are inheritances that were passed down to us, right? The same, and we're going to pass them down to our children, right? But our forefathers, they had wealth, right? They knew what to do with their wealth, right? They kind of set up themselves so where they could kind of pass it on from generation to generation, right? See, Esau is kind of ahead of the game in that matter, right? Because Esau, they got the trust funds set up, right? They got, their retirements, their pensions, whatever the case may be, and they have it all set up under their children's name, right? And through the spirit, we kind of should have that same mindset, not the mindset of, oh, America's going to continue forever, but the mindset of, hey, I'm here right now. I don't know how long it's going to take for the Lord to come and destroy this place, right? So it will behoove me to be wiser with my spending. Hey, if the Lord came and destroyed this place today, all praise to the Most High. But what if it took another 50 years? What if it took another 70, another 80, right? What if it took another lifetime for the Lord to come and destroy this place? And you could have made wiser financial decisions that, hey, even within those next 150, 70 years, your children would have been all right. And you perished, right? So I'm not saying to, hey, hope that this kingdom continues forever, right? But it would be a wise thing, right, to start to build inheritances for your children, right? Brother Moses dropped the precept, Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. All right, all praise to the Most High. So let's read on. Verse 12 is the point. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. So when you have wisdom and you have money, you can use both as a defense, right? That's the same thing as when James said you got to have faith in works, right? You know, brothers spend all day trying to devise plans on how you're going to survive Jacob's trouble or how you're going to, do this and that, how you're going to set, you got plans for all these things, but you don't have the necessary resources. Through the Spirit of the Lord, right, and wise financial decisions, you could achieve those resources if the Lord will, right? Because it says what it says wisdom and money is a defense, right? Let's read on. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it, right? So we're going to touch on somebody that we're going to touch on Joseph briefly, right? Because Joseph, he was wise with his finances, right? When he was promoted by Pharaoh, right? What did Pharaoh promoted him through the Lord, right? And Joseph understood there was going to be 7 years of famine. Joseph set them up to where even in that famine, right, through their investments and what they did during that before the famine, they was all right. Right? It took wisdom and it took resources, right? Let's go to the next precept. Let's go to Proverbs. We'll get a couple out of Proverbs. Right? Proverbs chapter 13, right? Start at verse 4. It says, the soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing. So, brothers and sisters, right, we know that we're commanded to work, right? Because according to 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and verse 10, if a man don't work, a man don't eat, right? So we have to work. If we don't work, we can't survive, right? That's plain upon tables. If you brothers, if you sit at home making your wife go to work, you're going off, okay? You brothers just refusing to work, being lazy, or you might get a job and then you'll quit your job because you don't like how much work it is because you're not used to working, you're going off, right? The scriptures say, according to what Proverbs 20, right, verse 29, it says the glory of young men is their strength, and the beauty of old men is the gray head. So you young men, you young women, you have strength. You have to utilize your strength, right, for your increase. Right? Let's pause on Proverbs real quick. Let's go to the book of Sirach, the 11th chapter. Right? Because hey, once upon a time, man, I had that spirit on me. When I was younger, man, I really didn't want to work, man. I hated working, man. I had an immature mind of, oh man, the Lord gonna destroy this place anyway. What I need to work for? That's off. You know what I'm saying? That's a slothful spirit, right? Let's get to Sirach chapter 11 and verse 20. Start at verse 20. It says, be steadfast in thy covenant, and be conversant therein, and wax old in thy work. So the Bible says you have to wax old in your work, right? Marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in the Lord, and abide in thy labor. See, nowadays when Jake get a job, Jake is so tired of working, so tired of being in captivity, they start being covetous. They start looking at what Esau got. They start looking at what other Jakes may have, right? And they start to covet those things, right? That's why I said marvel not at the works of sinners. When you start coveting those things, and you start to become like those people. You might stop going to your 9 to 5. You might start hitting the block selling dimes, right? You might stop working at your 9 to 5. And you might start scamming. You might start going and stealing, right? Armed robbery, aggravated robbery, right? Unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, right? And all these things. Let's read on. For it is an easy thing, Salakia, verse 21, and abide in thy labor. For it is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord on the sudden to make a poor man rich. That's one of my favorite precepts, man. Right? This is one of my favorite precepts because hey, you never know. And I'm not saying that you gotta, kind of try to be the millionaire of your family, right? The one who made it out. But I am saying through the power and spirit of the Most High, if you work, the Lord gonna give you what you need, right? Let's read on verse 22. The blessing of the Lord is in the reward of the godly, and suddenly he maketh his blessing to flourish. Right? Let me get one more out of this 11. Let me see. No, we're not gonna get that. Right? So it says, hey, you got a body of covenant and in your work, because it's an easy thing in the sight of the Most High to make a poor man rich. Right? So let's go back to Proverbs chapter 13. Right? Because we're gonna cover, certain investments and things of that nature. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 4. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing. So the soul of the sluggard is desiring, right? But you have nothing. Oh man, I wish I had some money, right? You kind of desire to have money. You kind of desire that brand new truck, right? You kind of desire, right, a house, right, to cover your shame, right? But it said what? But and have nothing, right? Because hey, if you slothful, you're not gonna get up and go put in the work that needs to be done, right? If you slothful, you kind of you in the bed all day, all night, right? You're not looking for jobs, or you just refuse to go to work, right? Hey, you desiring things, but you'll never be able to accomplish those things, right? Just drop down to verse 7. There is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. Right now, we're about to get into some financial decisions. Okay, it says there is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. So you going to work, you going to your 9 to 5, or your 10-hour shifts, your 12-hour shifts, whatever the case may be. Right, there is that maketh himself rich, and you're getting paid for those things. Right, you clock in, you clock out, yet hath nothing. Right, so what that mean? So you make yourself rich, but you don't have anything. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? Right? Let's find out. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches. So on one hand, you got somebody going in and clocking out. You going to work, you're doing everything you need to be doing as far as working is concerned, right? But you poor. You don't have anything. Why? Because you have terrible spending habits. You have bad spending habits, right? And this class is not just for y'all; it's for myself as well, right? It's something the Lord put this on my spirit to think about. I'm doing better with my spending habits, doing way better. You don't believe me? Go ask my wife; she'll tell you, right? Go ask Officer Don; he'll tell you, right? But hey, if you going to work, you getting all this money, and as soon as the check kind of hits your account, you kind of rubbing your hands together, licking your lips. I'm not gonna go eat, right? Right? What am I gonna eat? As soon as the check get to your account, you kind of wake up early in the morning just to see if you got paid yet. I'm talking about you ain't even prayed yet. You just kind of just woke up at 5 in the morning and check your bank account. So I wonder what I'm gonna buy. I need some new clothes. Need some new shoes, right? First thing first, right? When you get any bit of increase, you should be giving it a portion to the Lord, right? Whether that be alms, whether you kind of buying things for the body, for the congregation, right? Just to help out other Israelites, whatever the case may be, right? That's your first investment because what did the Lord say? First things first, you got to seek ye first the kingdom of the Most High, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 6, the classic, right? Matthew chapter 6, right? In verse 33, it says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto thee. Right? Brother Moses dropped the fire precept, man. That's probably why I should have started that too. Right? But it said, hey, you seek first the kingdom of the Most High, and then everything else will be added unto you. Right? The Lord had asked Solomon, he said, what do you want? I'm paraphrasing this. This is First Kings chapter 3, right? The Lord asked Solomon, hey, what do you want? I'll give it to you. The first thing Solomon said was wisdom, so I can judge your people wisely, right? And what did the Lord do? The Lord said, okay, since you didn't ask for riches, you didn't ask for wealth, you didn't ask for no type of prosperity, you only asked for wisdom to walk righteously and to judge my people. I'm going to give you wisdom. I'm going to give you honor, right? I'm going to give you the wealth. I'm going to give you everything, right? So that's a perfect example of you having to seek first the kingdom of the Most High, and the Lord going to add everything unto you that you need, right? And like the brother Moses dropped in the chat, in Matthew 6:19, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, right? And where thieves break through and steal, right? Your life shouldn't be revolved around trying to make it in this society, right? Your life shouldn't be revolved around being the millionaire, man, or a millionaire, right? Not saying that that couldn't happen, but that's not what your life should be revolved around. Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. And you do that by keeping the commandments, walking with wisdom, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, where thieves do not break through nor steal. So that's first things first. You have to seek the kingdom of the Most High, right? You have to seek the heavenly riches before you can be strengthened with your earthly riches, right? So let's go back to Proverbs 13 and verse 7. It says, there is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. Because why? You spending your money on everything, man. As soon as it touch your bank account, I'm talking about you just going off. How the hell you don't have like they say in the world, you gotta have some money for a rainy day. Shalom, Sister Genesis. You gotta have some money for a rainy day. If you're spending your bread on everything, right? What is that gonna profit you? Let's say your tire might get blown out, right? But you spent your last $400 on some designer shoes. What did that profit you? Now you gotta go sell your shoes just so you can go buy a new tire, right? And then you're not even gonna get a just amount back. You're gonna have to sell your shoes cheaper than what you got them for, because nobody's gonna want to buy them, right? These are just simple scenarios, right? Let's get another precept real quick, just to prove the point. All right. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 23 real quick. So like, yeah. Proverbs chapter 23. Right, in verse 21. Well, I started 20. So like, let's go ahead and start at 19. It says, hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in the way. How should we guide our heart? with the words of God, with the words of the Most High, because this is our wisdom, according to Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. Verse 20. Be not among wine bibbers. Why? Because they spend all your money at the bar, right? Among riotous eaters of flesh, right? You got your ratchets. You hang out with the ratchets all day at the restaurants. They spending up all your money. And it's really for your brothers right here. Are you taking Eve out on these luxurious dates, right? It says, be not among these people, right? Verse 21. For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty. So if you eating out all the time, right? You at the bars all the time, right? You're gonna come to poverty. And this is crazy because I watched a video on this on social media. It was a quick video, probably 2 minutes. It was a brother, and he was like, "Man, hey, unless you a millionaire, when you at work, you should not be eating out. You need to be packing your food every time you go to work, man. Right? And that's real because you spending $15 on for breakfast, right? Tab Ben say you unhealthy and broke. You for real though. Unhealthy and that's a poor combination right there, man. I'm talking about horrible. It's horrible for your soul. It's horrible for your spirit, man. When poverty come upon a man, that's one of the worst feelings there is, right? Hey, man, you think you said, man, hold on, man. Sirach chapter 10, man. It said they sell their bowels when they come to a poor state, man. Man, Jacob start doing anything, right? When ain't no money in the check, and ain't no money in your bank account, right? Let's read this again. Proverbs 23 and 21. For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. So if you're sleeping all day, you're not actively hunting for work, you're not hustling, right? Whether that's door dashing, Uber Eats, or lifting, or it's like you're not lifting, but doing a lift, right? That's a form of a hustle. Or if you got some things around the house that you know hold some value and you know you don't have no job and you go sell those things, that's actively hustling, right? You can't sleep all day being a filthy stone, just collecting dust, like your grandma old Bible that she put bills in instead of reading, just collecting dust, right? For the drunkard and glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Meaning what? You're not gonna have anything because you're poor. As Brother Benton said, you're unhealthy and you're broke, right? But these things can be avoided. You just got to get up off your hind parts and go to work and manage your money. Because, like Ecclesiastes 7 said, money is a defense alongside with wisdom. So that means you have to make proper investments, right? Let's get another one. Proverbs chapter 21. And you should, man, every time you get paid, you don't have to spend. You don't have to spend anything, honestly. Right? You knock out your rent. You knock out all your bills. If you want to, aside from bills and rent, you give what you give to the Lord and to the body, right? And hey, if you want to treat yourself with something small, nothing too extravagant, but hey, you might can say, hey, I'm gonna take myself out to eat one time real quick. You might be able to say, hey, you know what? These shoes, they're pretty cool. I'm gonna buy them. That's all I'm gonna buy for a while. That's okay too, right? Defraud not thyself of a good day, but you can't be surfeiting with it. You can't be covetous and desirous of everything in the world. Because the scriptures say that the eye is the most evil thing there is. So when you got money, you can afford certain things, and you just want to start splurging and splurging and splurging. Next thing you know, you broke as hell, right? So let's read this Proverbs 21 and verse 17. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. Man, did y'all hear that? If you love pleasure, right? Only thing you can think about is the next thing that you're gonna buy, the next game you're gonna buy, right? The next fragrances and perfumes and colognes that you're gonna buy, right? But the next damn game set or newest Jordans that's about to drop. If that's all you could think about when you getting paid, man, you're not gonna be rich, right? Because your money, it's what we read in Proverbs 13:7, right? There's one that maketh himself rich, but yet is poor. Your money is you literally, hey, you bringing a curse on yourself. Haggai 1:6, right? He that earned wages to put into a hole with bags, man. You you know you gotta pay your bills. Boom, you paid your bills. Now you let's say you probably got $500 left. Now you finna go buy some damn $400 a pair worth of shoes. And you only got $100 left. Come on, Israel, we gotta do better, right? We wanna the statistics what I had seen last time I looked at this, we like Israel, you black, Spanish, Native Americans, man, we earn top dollar. Like, don't get it twisted. We earn top dollar, right? But statistics show that we spend a lot of our money on things of pleasure, right? As I mentioned, jewelry, shoes, clothes, things that's not going to profit us. And see, one thing about these other nations, I'll say, is when they get money, they put it into each other, right? When they get money, they put it into a business. Everybody. It's probably like five, six, seven of them, right? I'm gonna even use Issachar for example. Issachar real good at this. Cause Issachar is over here staying in these apartments where I stay, right? Man, it's probably like maybe five of them, right? It's probably a one bedroom, maybe a two bedroom. It's like five or six of them. I can't give you the actual number, right? But what you think they all in there doing? Everybody in there surviving, right? They coming together collectively. All of them got jobs. All of them getting paid, right? They putting their money together so they can get the hell up out of here, right? They putting their money together so that they can invest in certain things. You know, it's called want to open up the food trucks. It's called want to open up their own restaurants, right? It's called wants to open up construction sites, right? It's called wants to, they want to buy houses. They don't want to live in apartments forever, right? That's definitely something I'll credit Issachar for because they know how to do that. But Judah, man, Benjamin, Levi, man, come on, we got to do better. I'm saying, but all Israel got to do better because I know some Issacharites, all they care about is flashy jewelry, right? The next game, Battlefield, Black Ops 6, whatever the case may be, right? Hey, I'm not boasting or nothing, but I sold my game because I seen it wasn't profiting me nothing except a bill every damn month, right? I'm playing games that I'm talking about, I'm getting thrusted through on these games, defeated. Why am I paying for this? And I keep losing. It just wasn't profiting, right? So let's read that one more time. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. Think about men who spend their money on prostitutes, right? You get all this money, right? And then you spend it all on prostitutes. Now you're broke, right? It's a precept, right? Proverbs 6:26. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, right? You had the substance of diamonds and riches. Now you brought to a piece of bread because you chasing after these women, right? Brothers, it's okay to talk to a woman, right? But you don't have to spend your life earnings on her just to kind of if you gotta spend some money on a woman just to prove that you worthy of her time, brother, you gotta get the hell up out of there because you're dealing with a whorish woman, right? You don't know a woman by spending money on her. You know a woman by having a conversation with her, by proving her, seeing how her intelligence is, testing her cognitive ability, right? With you brothers, man, we getting desperate in these times, man. We getting very desperate in these times. It's time to man the hell up, right? Like it's saying 1 Corinthians 16 and verse 13. Quit you like men and be strong. Put away the mortal thoughts of regular men. We're not regular men, right? We're Israelites, right? We have to do better. We have to set the standard of these things, man. We can't be out spending all this money and our family don't have nothing to eat, right? We out here spending all this money, but we can't afford to take our children to the doctor, right? You spending all this money, but you're talking about all the land that you want to buy, all the goals that you want to achieve if you can through the spirit of the Lord, right? But you're spending all this money that's not setting you up in that way, right? He that loveth wine and oil shall not be made rich. Hey brothers, you funding your drinking habits. It's okay to get you some yan every now and again, right? But every time you get paid, you shouldn't be out here damn purchasing a bottle of 1942 and some Don Julio. You don't have to have yan and the latest fragrance that just came out, right? Let's get this in Sirach real quick. Sirach chapter 18, right? Sirach chapter 18 and start at verse 30. It says, Go not after thy lust, but refrain thyself from thine appetites. This is a cut, man, because there's many lusts in this present world. You got the lust of the flesh with lewd, strange acts. You got covetousness, right? You got covetousness of many things: cars, clothes, jewelry, women, right? People, right? But the Bible says to go not after your lust. Because what Babylon has taught us is it's okay to get what you want when you want it. That's what Babylon has taught us. But the Lord teaches us delayed gratification. Let me see if I can pull up that definition real quick. So like get back to sharing my screen. I forgot how to share my screen, y'all. Bear with me. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's look this up. Let's plug this computer up real quick. Okay. So here we have Lucky. Okay. Here we have an example, okay, or the definition of delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is defined as the ability to resist immediate rewards in favor of larger, long-term benefits. It involves resisting the temptation of an immediate reward to achieve a more valuable reward in the future, which is essential for self-regulation and self-control. This skill not only helps in making better choices, but also fosters discipline and resilience, contributing to personal success. So, delayed gratification. This is righteous. This is a good thing. right? When you can deny yourself, what did Yahweh say? Whosoever follow me, he got to deny himself and take up his cross. We supposed to be denying ourselves, right? For the gratification of the kingdom to come. This not our rest. This not our kingdom, right? We shouldn't be trying to make it how Esau made it or how these top rappers, right? Musicians and artists made it, right? But when we deny ourselves, right? We deny ourselves that instant gratification. We're saving up for something more better, right? So let's go back to it. Sirach chapter 18, verse 30. Go not after thy lust, but refrain thyself from thine appetites. If thou givest thy soul the desires that please her, right? And what are some things that please the souls of men? Drinking, right? Lusting after women, right? Yeah, cars, clothes, the finer things of life, right? It says, if thou givest thy soul, so like thy soul, the desires that please her, right? Watch this. She will make thee a laughing stock to thine enemies that malign thee. Meaning what? You went broke, right? You went broke trying to achieve that lavish lifestyle, right? What they say, keeping up with the Johnsons. I think that's the term, right? Trying to keep up with the Johnsons, right? You going broke trying to keep up with them. And everybody around you is looking at your demise and downfall and they laughing at you, right? So we got to implement delayed gratification on our lives, right? In every aspect, that is to say, right? Because we have a reward. We have a greater reward. We don't have to sell out for things that please us right now, right? Is there more that I want on that? Nah, we could drop that. All right. So what's the next precept? Where we going with it? Let's go to Proverbs, right? Chapter 11. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 24. And we're going to talk about investments. Now, brothers, when I say investments, I'm not telling you got to learn how to be the best day trader or stockholder, right? But it is, I don't want to say imperative, right? But I do want to say it will behoove you to learn these type of things, okay? Because how else are you going to invest your money unless you put it into something that's going to increase its value, right? For example, you get a high yield savings account, right? I'm probably going to do that myself. Get a bank account that's a high yield savings account. So you're not using that bank account for nothing except putting money in it, and over time it's going to increase, right? That's an investment. That's wise. You put $5 in, 12 months from now, you got $10 more, right? That's just an example, but still, you made a profit, right? You put money into certain businesses. Like for example, you look up your businesses that create your military grade weapons. I think I would invest in that because knowing the prophecies, you know, it's going to enter a time where mass production of drones, right, aerial warfare weapons, right, bullet manufacturers, tank manufacturers. I would invest in those things. Aircraft manufacturers. I would invest in those things. You know why? Because I know we're approaching a time of war, right? You put money into those companies, you're going to make a profit, right? So let's get this. Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 24. There is that scattereth and yet increaseth. So the Bible tell you, right? You got to scatter your money for it to increase, right? What do I mean? I'm not telling you. I mean, I could, okay, we watch this. I'm going to use the example of, well, no, this might be a bad example. Um, yeah, this is a bad example, but I'm going to use it though. So, you know how the heathen, right? When they let people borrow money, they obviously taxing those people, right? Or the bank. When a bank lets you borrow money, right, you gotta pay it back with some equity. You gotta pay it back with some. They want to tax you, right? And now that's a poor example. So like it, but that's when it says, hey, there is that scatter thing yet increase it. The bank gave you money, so they dispersed their money, but yet they finna make up some more money on top of that money that they gave you. You're gonna have to get them extra, right? So it's the same thing when you invest your money, right? There is that scattereth and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. So you can save money, right? You keep your money in your bank account. Next thing you know, it's slowly draining from you because you constantly having to pay bills. You constantly, putting your money wherever it needs to be, right? But you're not investing. You're not increasing from it. It's stuck there, right? It's stagnant. It plateaued, right? There's no increase, right? So if you invest your money, you're gonna have an increase, right? That takes me to the next one. Let's go to Ecclesiastes real quick, chapter 11. Right? They go hand in hand. It's precept must be upon precept. It's like it. Yeah. Brother getting a little parched. Kind of, they be loan sharking like a mud. They be loan sharking, man. Yeah, that's off. I'm talking about, man, that's wicked as hell, bro. Because obviously, you want me to pay more money than what I asked you for. I'm broke as hell. That's why I had to ask you for the money in the first place. Now you telling me I gotta pay more and I'm still broke? Come on, man. That's wicked, man. Let's get this real quick. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 and verse 1. Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put this up in I want to get another translation for this. For this Ecclesiastes chapter 11. Because it's gonna break it down simply. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's get this. I'm gonna put this up in the NLT so y'all can say what. Babylonian colleges. Yeah, most definitely sound like them Babylonian colleges, man. Because man, brothers and sisters. I mean, even including myself. We going to dead behind these things, man. Can y'all see my screen? Okay. Cool. All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 1 in the NLT. It says, send your grain across the seas, and in time, profits will flow back to you. So, this is what I mean when I say delayed gratification. Okay. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not, you're going to put $100 in today, you're going to get $1,000 back tomorrow. It's not that type of thing. But in process of time, you will see and profit, right? It's better to constantly be making money to make no money, right? Verse 2. But divide your investments among many places. So, for example, there's an Edomite at my job. I know I keep using these Edomites as references because, I mean, hell, this is their world, right? This is their planet right now. That's their rulership. They know the ins and outs of the game as far as making money, right? He said, hey, you can't never keep your money in one bank account. I mean, at the time when I heard that, I'm like, man, that's folly as hell. Where else is it gonna go? you know, but I can understand the wisdom behind it, right, on a carnal level, right? Because this precept right here, divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead, right? Hey, you never know. You got all your money and resources in one spot and or in one bank, and then boom, the damn bank closes down and takes all your money and flees the country, right? There are many things that could happen. Hey, I remember one day Bank of America had froze on us, right? Bank of America had froze. And I'm like, damn, where the hell my money at? Talking about my bank account says $0. I'm like, man, what the hell? What's going on? Right? It says when clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. Now, this takes me back to my younger mindset, okay? This takes me back to my younger mindset because what I mean is when I was younger, I was like, man, what's the point of man even trying to work or make something of myself? The world about to end. The Lord gonna destroy this place, right? It's a poor mindset, poor and unhealthy. Like Ak had said earlier, right? It's a poor mindset. But with the knowledge that I have now, the Spirit of the Lord, and through foresight of prudence, right? Back then, if I started working, right? If I was working back then as diligently as I should have been, if I made proper investments then, right? Back in 2020, back in 2021, right? If I made those investments then and I just let the investment just flow all the way to the present time, hey, I'd probably be way in a much better position than I am today, right? And like the scripture said, if you wait for the perfect opportunity, you'll never do it. If you watching all the, it said you watch the clouds all day, you ain't gonna never plant. If you watching the words of prophecy, watching all these evil things happening, and through a spirit of fear, you kind of just, you know what, I'm gonna keep this to myself. I'm not gonna invest this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna set myself up. It's gonna be destroyed anyway. How damn foolish do you think you'll look if we were still here 10 years from now, right? Whereas 10 years ago, you could have invested in something and watched your profits increase. And then you could have taken that money and did something profitable with it for the benefit of your house, for the benefit of the body, of the congregation, right? And that's when Bank of America supposedly had gotten hacked. Yeah, yep. I want to say that was this past summer. I think that was this past summer. All right. Or was this past summer? Might have been a year ago, actually. Right. So that's all I wanted out of there. All right. So now we'll get a few examples. Then we're gonna kind of close out for the night. Let me see what I want to do. Let me see. Come on, let's go to Genesis, man. Genesis chapter 30. Brother Moses says a Roth IRA coupled with your 401k and equitable assets is a good formula. And I agree with that, right? I'm not, and y'all listen to me, I'm not in no way, shape, form, or fashion am I a financial advisor. Since we talking about the matter of finances, why not consult with a financial advisor? I'm just trying to give you the spirit of prudence to handle your finances a bit more wisely and a bit more carefully, right? If I'm sure you pray to the Lord, you ask Him to give you the spirit of discipline in your spendings, and you go consult with people that actually know money. Man, that would be a good thing through the spirit, right? Um, yeah, we'll get a couple more precepts. Let's go to Genesis chapter 30. Start at verse 30. Right, this is when Jacob was laboring for Laban, right? He had the cattle. Let's see the investments that Jacob made, and it made him richer, right? So Genesis chapter 30 and verse 30. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord had blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for mine own house also? So when Jacob was working for Laban, right? Laban didn't have much of anything, right? But when Jacob came and worked for him, hey, the Lord increased Laban a lot, right? Jacob had understanding and prudence on how he was going to multiply these cattle, right? He had understanding and prudence on how he was going to multiply their currency, right? Verse 31. And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. And of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me. Right? In time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. Right? So Jacob is devising a plan. He said, hey, all these speckled, brown, spotted sheep and goats, I'm going to separate them from the regular sheep and goats, right? Verse 35. And he removed that day the he goats that were ring straight and spotted, and all the she goats that were speckled and spotted, and everyone that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and piled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had piled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring strakes, speckled and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the fences of the flocks toward the ring straight, and all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. So he separated the browns, right, from the regular ones and from the ring strakes. The ring strakes was multiplied, right? The ring strakes and the ones that had a little bit of white in them, it was multiplied, right? Verse 41. And it came to pass, right, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. Right? Watch this. So the feebler were Laban's or Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. So Jacob, in his wisdom, through the Spirit of the Lord, he uses wisdom to say, hey, I'm gonna take these speckled ones, right? I'm gonna take these strong ones. I'm gonna make them my flock. Laban, you're gonna get the brown regular ones that's a little feeble and weak. Those are gonna be yours. And look at what happened when he set up this plan, right? Verse 43. And the man increased exceedingly and had much cattle and maidservants and men servants and camels and asses. So through this divine thought process of trying to righteously manage his currency, right? The Lord said, hey, he increased exceedingly, right? So what's stopping you from increasing exceedingly? I don't know. Maybe it's your terrible spending habits, right? It's going to always lead back to these terrible spending habits, man. If you ask the Lord to strengthen you and to help you overcome the spirit of covetousness and desire, hey, I think you'll be okay, right? If you ask the Lord to give you the spirit of contentment, right? Being content, right? I think you'll be okay, right? Because that's our problem, man. We get caught up in the lust of the flesh and we start surfeiting the things of this world, right? Let's get this. Let me get like 2 more precepts and we're going to close out for the night. It's like, I don't even know what time it is. 3:24. All praise to the Most High. Right, Luke chapter 21, verse 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. So be mindful of what you're doing in these last days, man. Man, it's easy. It's easy to get into sin, and it's hard as hell to get out, right? It's easy to get caught up with the latest trends and fashion of this world, man. It's easy to get caught up with those things, man. Man, it's a brother at my job. He say he an Israelite, right? The brother got a mean spirit of fornication on him because of who he hang around with, because of the conversation that they have. And that's vexing as hell, right? It's so easy to get caught up in this world, but it's so hard to get out, right? It says, take heed to yourselves, man. Lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life. If you didn't care about the cares of this life so much, man, think about how much better your spiritual situation would be, your financial situation would be, right? Your relationship with the Most High, your relationship with your spouse, right? And so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, because, hey, the days are approaching, right? The days of evil are approaching, right? You see the government shut down. It was shut down for a little minute now. It's been about, a month? Could be longer, right? They've been shut down for a little minute. Food stamps got cut. EBT, SNAP, right? Man, the Lord is setting the stage for something greater, man. For something, a greater evil, man. First, you cut off the food. That's equivalent to what? Cutting off the water. If you cut off the water, how are people going to feed their flock? Right? How are people going to take care of their children? Water their crops? Right? When you cut off the water, that means you're going to war. And yet you setting up a siege against some people, man. Right? These are evil days that we're approaching. We're entering into the siege. Right? So it says, watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. Right? So we got to be watchful and always praying that we're able to escape these evils, man. And I said I had one more precept. I'm going to close it out with that. Let's go to Philippians. The 4th chapter. Philippians chapter 4. I'm going to start at verse 10. It says, "But I rejoice in the Lord greatly, that now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content." Man, whatsoever state that you in right now, man, you got to learn to be content with that, man. You don't have to have the lavish life every single day. Your spendings don't have to be on the grandest things every single day. Learn some delayed gratification, man. Learn that's a skill and trait that every Israelite needs, whether you're a man, woman, or child. Man, I wish I had learned delayed gratification as a child, and it was instilled in me, right? Because hey, I wouldn't have no problem telling myself no, I don't need that, right? Coworkers at the job asking, "Hey, you want something to eat? You want this strawberry shortcake? You want a shake?" You know damn well you suffer from type 2 diabetes, right? You know damn well you pushing obese. You know damn well you told yourself that you were gonna start working out and doing whatever the case may be to better your health and lifestyle. And here you go. Yeah, I'll take a strawberry shortcake with a lemon ice cream drop and cookies and cream on top. Deny yourself so that you can truly serve the Lord, man, and set yourself up, right? I have learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. Verse 12. I know both how to be abased and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things, I'm instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need, right? And watch this. I can do all things through the Hamashiach Yahawashai, which strengtheneth me, right? And with that, that's my time for the night. Lord willing, brothers and sisters were edified. Lord willing, this was a lesson that could be helpful to the body, man. You know, I'm gonna reflect on these things which I spoke this night or this morning, and do my best to apply them to my own lifestyle, man. Right? Because somebody got to be dependable. You know, your family is looking at you for answers. Your family is looking for you, not solely upon you. You know, obviously the Most High, their faith is in, right? But the Lord sets you up as a man, right, or a leader, right, to kind of be a wall of defense for your house, right, for your brethren, right? And these are the burdens that we have to bear, right? Brother Moses dropped that Romans 12 and 12, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, and continuing in instant prayer, man. Right? So with that's my time for the night. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Continue to endure these hardships and tribulations. Shalom.